Who are those three teachers or three people in school that you can talk to? And who are those three people outside of school that if you had good news, you could talk to? And what we found is when we can build those networks of the three in and the three out, that helps kids feel a little bit more comfortable knowing when a red flag happens, what to do.
You're listening to the smartsocial.com podcast. This is our District Talk segment where we interview district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media. And we also ask them questions that we get from parents all over the country in our program. Now let's get back to the interview.
Hi, I'm Greg Wolcott, Assistant Superintendent for Teaching and Learning in Woodridge School District 68. We're a 3,000 student kindergarten through 8th grade school district in the western suburbs of Chicago.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode. I'm so excited to feature Greg here from a school district that's going to show us how to keep kids safe on social media so they can be successful both in the school's walls and at home so they can someday shine online. That's the topic of today's discussion. We're so excited here at smartsocial.com to be delivering live events and getting experts just like Greg here today to talk to you about what's happening, boots on the ground in the school district, but also with lots of experience outside of the school district to help nurture great kids. Welcome, Greg. It's so good to have you here today. My first question here for you is, when it comes to parent ed, and this is one of the biggest things we're trying to tackle here at smartsocial.com. I'd love your tips and insights here. A lot of districts are implementing cell phone free policies, and parents are telling us, hey, Josh, I'm left in the dark. I'm looking for strategies, tactics, tips that I can use to work with my kiddos at home. What are your suggestions for parents or districts, or maybe even organizations that are trying to build parent ed and engagement around cell phone use? What would you say to them?
The first piece that jumps out is, as all schools are, it is a struggle getting the parents involved and getting parents into things. But when we can partner to tackle it, it helps. And I'd say that the first step really for this would be take a step back and first look at how often you contact your kids during the school day. Because I think one of the things that's really jumped out to us is in wanting to stay involved, parents are texting their kids during the day, emailing their kids during the day. I was at a school in a neighboring district that I consult with, and I was walking in the hallway with the school administrator. And as we're in the hallway, there was a kid in the hallway between classes on his cell phone talking to his mom at 9:30 in the morning and saying, "Mom, can I get on Instagram? Why won't you sign me up for Instagram like the other kids?" And again, I think we talk a lot about strategies to get kids away from using those. But first, I think it starts with us. And what are we doing to initiate some of that during the day contact? And so I think the first piece is pulling ourselves out of that day-to-day contact and then starting to have those other conversations at home and things like that.
I just wrote this down. Greg, I love that answer. If you see me looking down, it's because I just love what you just said, and I want to take notes on this. I love that because parents, if you're watching right now, you love nothing more than your children. That's the most important thing in the world. And of course, you'd want to communicate with them. But think about when we were all kids, there were no cell phones. We did quite well for, let's say, 6 hours out of the day at school in a safe zone, a safe environment. But I love that you basically said, let's go back to the basics. Let's not bother the kids. Whether they have one of these, an Apple Watch, a lot of kids have them in the class, or an iPhone, Android, or some kind of smart device. Let's look inside. I love that. That's a tip we haven't gotten with this. So I'm pumped up to discuss that more. The next question we have, which is so important, and I have a feeling it dovetails, Greg, with the previous question. It's social media's impact on teens. And we're just going to say kids everywhere, right? And how are you seeing social media impact teen self-esteem, motivation, decision-making in your district? And boys, does this play to that conversation you saw that kid have in the hallway or in the classroom of, Mom, can I have Instagram? Begging for that, right? So how are you seeing once they get it, how are you seeing it impact all these things, the self-esteem, the motivation, the decision-making?
Yeah, I think one of the challenges is, again, it's such a great, easy device to turn to, right? But I think one of the challenges is that, we talk a lot to the kids about being in these upward spirals and downward spirals, right? On these positives and in these negatives. And if I'm in an upward spiral, right, and everything is good, and I get on my phone to text you or Snapchat you, and you don't get back right away, if I'm in an upward spiral, it's like, he must have something else going on. But if I'm in that downward spiral and I text you, snap you, whatever, and you don't get back right away, then all of a sudden I'm like, what's wrong? So it then magnifies, right? I'm already in that downward spiral, but then I'm like, okay, why didn't he get back to me? Did I do something wrong? And then that just builds and builds and builds. And so I think it's little things like that that then start, again, it becomes cumulative and just continues to add. And so the negative impacts obviously just continue to magnify. I think too, that teen age when the brain is changing so much and really needs and wants that peer approval, it just, as you well know, it just magnifies. And so I think those are some of what worries me. And then maybe from a geeky perspective too, from a brain plasticity perspective, we know that the brain is most plastic and most changing in those first couple of years of life, and then that teenage years. And what happens then in those teenage years, as the brain is rewiring itself, it rewires itself stronger. So if there's social media that is impacting students' beliefs about themselves, their insecurities, all these things, well, that's being rewired stronger because it's in that age range. And so I think those are some of the things as parents, and I have 2 kids myself, taking a step back out of that and realizing, okay, that it's not just the impact of this, it's the impact at that particular time that is going to magnify it more deeply.
I love what you just said. I want to reiterate this for our audience. Greg, this is so good. We got an upward spiral versus a downward spiral. I'm going to add to that based on the hundreds of podcast episodes we have with psychologists, therapists, counselors. I can hear them in the back of my head saying, Josh, remember, that's when we talk about kids' upward spiral, have the confidence of knowing maybe they won't get back to me right now because they have a lot going on, but I'm confident enough to not want that. But then there's every child. Parents, if you're listening right now, adults, I have this problem. I might be on a downward spiral one day because I have a little bit of anxiety. Like, did I misspell something? Did something happen? Or why aren't they getting back to me? Does it mean they don't like me? No, it just means they're busy. So if you see your child doing that, guess what? Adults do it. It's just as easy, if not more inclined for a teenager to do it. I love that. And then I also heard you say the word rewired in the teen years. And I heard the words, we're hard coding for social media as an adult. Lower attention span. We've all heard the 3-second to 6-second goldfish attention span, right? Which we're seeing a lot more kids have, which I love what you just said. Basically, we're hard coding kids or rewiring them to be that way as an adult during that short period of time. What would you say to people about wanting to wire their kids' brains differently for more patience and less red light, blue light at night?
I think that then transfers to where I think parents can have the biggest impact by saying, okay, how do I disengage from my own device and have that one-on-one conversation? Let me put it this way. When I was a kid, I had 3 brothers, but I was fighting for my dad's attention with my 3 brothers and the newspaper. But it was really easy for me to get the newspaper out of his hand and get his attention and get that one-on-one time. Not so easy with the cell phone. And I think what research I heard at one point was, and it was from the late 1990s, when it said that the average parent-child one-on-one time was about 5 minutes. And I was blown away by, you mean parents are only spending 5 minutes one-on-one with each kid? And again, that was 1990. Now what I'm hearing is that research is closer to a minute and a half of true eye-to-eye contact. Now, I don't know whether that research, I've tried to find the exact sites to cite that, but I do feel that there's a tremendous amount of value in that. And I think we can all see that. And so again, how do we spend that time? With my daughter, when she was little, it was just a matter of she'd lay in her bed, I'd lay on the floor, hold her hand at night, and we would just talk about what happened in the day and just have that one-on-one time. My son is a senior in high school, and he'll say, hey, Dad, do you want to go get a drink? And we'll drive about 5-10 miles to a quick gas station convenience store, and we'll get a drink and we'll just drive around and talk. Those times, that one-on-one time, is what we have to try to figure out how we can foster as more of our everyday routines.
Yeah, I love that. I think those are great examples. I love that. I kind of want to find out more of that after this program. I'd love for you to send me more information on the 5 minutes versus 1.5 minutes, because I think that's fascinating. So for all of our listeners right now, you're all are asking, Smart Social is in so many communities nationwide, millions of people a year are watching our stuff. Parents are often asking us, Josh, what advice would you give to a student to help them recognize some of the red flags of a dangerous stranger online? For all the listeners, let's hear from a real student about how she might help a friend recognize these red flags.
If I had a friend talking online to a stranger, I think that I would feel a little bit uncomfortable with the whole situation. I would advise against it because so many indirect issues can come from that, and it could cause something to be worse than if they had just unadded them in the first place. Some red flags that I would have to advise them to cut it off with this person or to stop engaging would be if the person starts to get very involved in their personal life and they seem to be very intrigued in what's going on with them and wanting to know all the little details about what they do and who they are, and just very personal details and things that you wouldn't normally share with a stranger in real life. If they're very persistent and constantly wanting to talk to my friend or constantly trying to be involved in their life or wanting to speak to them, I feel like that's kind of a red flag. Another thing would be if they ask them to ever meet them anywhere in person right from the start, if they feel a sense of being uncomfortable or their intuition is just saying it's wrong, or if my intuition is saying something feels wrong with this, then I think that's a major red flag.
So interesting. And parents, just to reiterate what she said, the red flags that a stranger might be dangerous. Getting involved in your personal life, asking a lot of personal questions, wanting to meet up in person. If your intuition is telling you something feels wrong. And parents, remember, these are the videos that you get in our live events. If your school district is a partner, come out to one of our weekly live events. We do about 50 to 60 a year. Gone are the days of Josh Oakes flying to your city as one of the top rated social media safety speakers. Now we do this in the convenience of whether it's picking your kids up from school when you're in the waiting line or parking lot, or at home, no matter where you're at, you can watch these incredible stuff. Weekly live events with replays in 12 plus languages, teen-led videos in the program, plus experts and psychologists, therapists, and counselors, and a premium parent newsletter. Now, here's some press that we got recently, parents. This is what it looks like when it goes perfectly right. We want you to attend these events because the more times you attend them, not only do you get a gift card, but also you protect your community. Here's what that looks like.
From preventing bullying to identifying online predators, the Lucia Mar Unified School District is working with an online company, Smart Social, to educate parents in the community about iPhone safety.
Hillary Dixon is looking to establish cell phone rules for her two teenagers.
What the rules will be on school nights, what kind of places my kids are sort of okay to go to online, and what kind of things we as a family have agreed are not appropriate.
Dixon is also the assistant superintendent of curriculum for Lucia Mar Unified School District.
Ensuring that our students are using digital tools, especially cell phones and computers, appropriately is something that both parents and schools deal with on a daily basis.
Lucia Mar began partnering last year with the Smart Social team. Smart Social is a website providing online guidance for parents to better understand new technologies and safety for their kids.
My husband and I have actually both used some of the tools to help have conversations with our kids.
This website shows the dangers of apps with hidden features, helps parents come up with dialogue starters, and more.
What would you say to the parents that are scared to have those kinds of conversations with their children?
Yeah. Some parents say, but my kids have the right to privacy, or I'm afraid to bring these up. So we give them real dialogue starters and we say, please screenshot these, have this dialogue, open it up. Don't tell your kids what to do. Don't be preachy, but rather ask them questions.
The program is made available to parents and families throughout the school.
Within the district, many of our counselors and our administrators have reported great feedback in engaging with families whose students are struggling with appropriate use at school.
We'll have more information on how you can get involved on our website at kspy.com.
All right, parents. So remember, every single week, we've got different events, different flavors all year long. You can watch a replay from the convenience of your home and even get a gift card. All right, we're back with our guest. Greg, thank you so much for joining us here today. The next question that parents are asking us, I want to get your advice on, is what are some of the biggest struggles you're seeing in districts like yours when it comes to keeping kids safe online and also protecting the community?
Yeah, I think right now that parent involvement piece, right? And how do we keep the parents involved, and kind of building off what we talked about a minute ago is strengthening that parent-child relationship so that when these different things come up, when a child something might come their way via social media or in the community, someone approaches them at a restaurant or something, that they feel comfortable turning and talking right away to their parents. And then it isn't something to be ashamed of. But, when we have developed that really strong relationship, I think it's a lot easier then for the kids to be able to turn when there's something, not just the highlights, again, that are going on in their life, but also when something like a struggle comes or when something like this happens. I think it makes it easier for that conversation to come more authentically. And so I think one of the things that we really focus on in our district is just how are we enhancing those relationships. I think the other piece to that is, with the relationships, is not just the relationships with the parent, but also who are those other significant adults in that child's life? Is it their coach? Is it a teacher? Is it a pastor? Who are those significant others? And we really, talk a lot about who are those 3 in and 3 out? Who are those 3 teachers or 3 people in school that you can talk to? And who are those 3 people outside of school that if you had good news, you could talk to? And what we found is when we can build those networks of the 3 in and the 3 out, that helps kids feel a little bit more comfortable knowing when a red flag happens, what to do.
Greg, I'm learning so much from you. The 3 in and 3 out. Really, what I'm also hearing from you is it takes a village to raise a kid. We've said that for hundreds of years. We often forget. We're like, no, we can do it on our own. Parents, remember, you're not alone. As Greg is saying, as all of us are saying, it really does take the cool aunt or uncle. It takes other people. One of the best dialogue starters we have at one of our live events from last month was, hey, student, child, if you didn't feel comfortable coming to me, who would be another person you felt comfortable going to? And then, well, there's part of your tribe. There's part of the village that it takes. Greg, I love that. Okay, here's another question we've got for you. This is our final round of questions here for today. What are some ways that we can increase face-to-face conversations among students or parents among their kiddos? Because as you've said, tech is leading to loneliness. I mean, actually, as all of us are saying, how do we break away from that?
That relationship peer to peer at school is critical. And so, is there that time built in? I authored a book on relationships in schools, and it's used now in thousands of schools around the United States. And one of the key components is starting the year, the first 3 days of the school year, for 72 hours, really focused on building those relationships. But then throughout the year, can you spend 72 seconds a day building those relationships? Can you build specific time throughout every month, coming back from holidays? And so it's really kind of figuring out, how do we create opportunities for kids to do 2 things: find similarities between each other and also have common experiences, because those common similarities and common experiences together start leading to those conversations. My daughter is a sophomore in college right now. Her best friend, she met her first year of high school. And on that first date, the teacher said, the simple is, go find someone who has the same shoes as you. And that simple thing, and she met this girl, Megan, and she found out that Megan had just moved here and that Megan's father was a police officer who happens to work under my brother, who was a police sergeant at that time. And so that common bond, and yet now here they are 6 years later, still best friends. But it took that teacher to provide the time and the opportunity for that. And again, we know that what that does for students' mental health. Again, they need to expand their own tribes, right? And their own groups. And again, it comes through opportunities to see those, common similarities and have common experiences.
Yeah, so well said. Congrats on the success of the book. I want to thank you, Greg. Thanks for coming out today. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
To all of our viewers here today, remember Smart Social's here with all of our live events to keep kids safe. But we're also educating parents so the kids can be successful both in and outside of school. They can make calculated mistakes, whether they're testing stuff, trying science projects, and everything else during this beautiful bubble to build resilient kiddos so that someday they can shine online to get that dream job, career, and everything else. Remember, parents, no matter what you do online, remember to keep it light, bright, and polite because your kids are watching. We'll see all of you very soon. Have a great rest of the day. We'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening to the smartsocial.com podcast. Smart Social helps parents understand technology and social media to keep their kids safe and successful. Be sure to join one of our weekly online live events to become the smartest parent on the block so you can keep your kids safe and protect their future. Also, don't miss our 450 plus online resources and replays you can watch on demand in multiple languages. Are you a school district wanting to unlock these resources for your parents? Reach out to us so we can protect your whole community each week. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you on the next episode.